Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video we are going to be setting up the product variation model. As I mentioned in a post on YouTube, unfortunately due to complexity we need to move it into a model instead, and the adjacency software, which I hope would have had relationship support by now, does not. So unfortunately we have to use a bit of a different approach. So to get started with, let's create the product variations migration, where we enter the title, the type, and we have an order which is set as an integer. Then we also need a parent ID, which will be related to itself as a foreign ID. And obviously just put in the table there. Make it a cascade on delete. And it should be nullable because you don't always need to have a parent ID. We also need the SKU. We need a price. And yeah, that should be about everything we need. We also obviously need to go into the product model here and create a relationship between them so that we can easily access all the variations. In this case, we'll just call it variations just for simplicity, but I do like naming my products, my models quite explicit so that I always know what they're about. And in this case, it has many relationships, so we will set up a has many relationship to this product variation class. And obviously we also need to set up a few things inside the product variation model. We want this to be a belongs to relationship. And since the product variation also needs to have media, we want to set it up with interacts with media using the fancy media package. And then inside the product resource, we want to essentially for now just get rid of the adjacency list inside the variance here. So let's just go into the product resource and check that we have removed the variance there. So I just want to go in and edit it and then click the variance tab and it's all gone. Perfect. So let's now create a relation manager. So with this, we put the product resource first, then the relationship inside the model, and then the title attribute, which is the third one, and that's in this case title. And then in here, we just want to put variance relation manager class in. Perfect. So now that's done. If we now head back in here, let's see what we got. We actually got an error. And I believe this error is due to the fact that we forgot to add a relationship for the product ID inside the variations product model. And we therefore want to just head back into the migrations table to essentially fix this issue. We also want to migrate it. So yes, just head back in here and roll back. Let's add the product ID. Again, this is very much like parent ID, except we want to make this related to the products table. So constrained products. And then we want to cascade on delete. And if we migrated them, let's head back in and see what happens. Perfect. So at the moment, we only have the title in there, and we actually want to add a few more functionalities into this relation manager. So to do that, we also want to remove the tab, of course. So let's remove the tab first and then go in and work with the table. So now we only have 2 tabs, perfect. All right, so if we go back up to the relations managers, which is in the filament folder, we will just go ahead and duplicate these a bit and add in a type. And we should also go in and make sure we have a SPATI media file upload. And let's just call this image. We only want one image to be uploaded. We want to enable the image editor. And we also want to have another text input. And in here, we want to have the price, make it numerical and required. Inside the text column, let's make sure we also have a type, price, which we can get again from the product resource. So if you remember, we set up the price using format state using. So there we go. Now we have the ability to actually store the price. We also need to go in and add the SKU. And the parent ID, which we can just label here. We do not need anything in here but a relationship. But let's first just check that it worked and it's been rendered. That's fine, perfect. So other than that, we want to just head this into a new line, add in a relationship. And we also want to make sure we add in the parent inside the product variation model before we do this. So we want to have this as belongs to, and it should belong to its own model. If we don't do that, it won't work. So with that done, we just want to make sure we specify the foreign key as parent ID, and then head back in here. We can now just say the name of the function, which is parent, and we just want the title attribute to display. So if we now refresh, we have nothing at the moment created, so we obviously can't do anything about that, so we would need to create a new one first. Let's head in here and add some fillables though before we create anything. So in this array, we want to specify the title, the order, the parent ID, type, price, and the SKU. And let's also make a text input field for the SKU. All right, so inside here, we just want to make sure that we actually specify this in capital letters as well. So let's just redo this here. Perfect. And also in the fillable. Otherwise, we're going to have an error coming up. And now with that done, we can now go into here and create a function to store the order in it, because we want to essentially have that all the time. So we want to create a public static function, and then for when this is not booted, sorry about that typo, we want to head into a function called static creating. So let's just rename this back to boot. And then static creating function, and pass in the variation. And then we want to save the order of the variation. We want to get the maximum number of the product variation where it is related to the product ID. So we want to get a variation product ID, and we want to get the max of order. So, and we also obviously want a +1 for that. So if you now go in and create one here, you can see we have it created perfectly. And the price is displaying nicely as well. So if we go back into the product variation table, you can see that we have the order there. And then if we go in and create a new one, and we refresh, you can see that is now number 2. So with that sorted, we also have one more thing we want to do on this table. So if you head back into the variations relation manager, and we make this reorderable by the order, and we refresh, you can now see that we can actually drag and drop them. So we can control the order from here, and it will then manipulate the order inside as well. So we now have the ability to perfectly manipulate the order of the items here and control the variations. We can even go ahead and select a parent ID. We are able to delete them. It's all neatly controlled in there. We also want to display a parent ID in there. And also want to make sure we display the order. And also, let's make sure in the text column that we have the ID. It just makes it easier to kind of get an overview over exactly how it looks like. So with that sorted, we now have the ID, we have the order, and we have the parent ID. So now that's all sorted, we can now also go ahead and test the image upload functionality. So I'm just going to upload the latest thumbnail I have, because that's the best image I have to hand for right now. If you go ahead and insert test 3 and just test for the SKU, maybe enter random price, and there we go. We have the ability to create as many as you want. We can move them around, and we'll obviously need to click the, not the save button, but the check box. And yeah, with that sort of, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and see you in the next one.